Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. It's time for yet another edition of This Week in Master Duel. This is, of course, the weekly news series in which I cover, well, the happenings from This Week in Master Duel. So this week we have a little bit to talk about. We definitely have a lot of leaks to go over for sure. The order that I like to do this in is, first we'll go to the notifications here in client here in Master Duel. Take a look at what's been new the last week up there. After that, of course, we will go over to Untapped, where we're going to take a look at some ranked ladder stats there. And then we'll finish up by going to Master Duel meta. We'll look at the leaks that I mentioned. Again, we have a lot of them. And we also have some tournament results to take a look at as well. So let's hop right in here into notifications. Up here at the top, we do have the new Tryouts Duel, Extreme Duel, Nibiru the Primal Being event is now underway. Basically, the idea is that this is one of those tryout duels, meaning 3 wins for a single selection pack. And in it, in these tryout duels, rather, you will always open with Nibiru the Primal Being. The monster card Nibiru the Primal Being is added to both players' hands at the start of the duel. You do not need to include Nibiru the Primal Being in the deck that you use. So I assume this means you draw your opening hand and then you also have Nibiru. I haven't actually played the event. I got a level with you. I don't have plans to. But I don't imagine Nibiru replaces one of the cards because it does say added. As always ever with tryout duels, like, I think they're a neat idea, and I think a lot of formats can be enough of a draw for me to try them out. Well, hence tryout duel. But the thing is, like, I don't know, for me especially, like, I already have so much going on between the channel and IRL stuff and ranked ladder and tournaments and whatever, that, like, it's taking the time out to get 3 wins for a single selection pack, I don't know, to me it just doesn't seem very worth it. But again, if the format itself is fun, then I'm more willing to make time for it. I just don't think this is a particularly interesting event, I guess. Like, I don't know, the fact that Nibiru is going to be in everyone's hands just kind of means to me that, like, okay, so you play a deck that doesn't play into Nib. And it's just like, that's just kind of boring to me. I don't know. If the incentive to play with the event is about playing around the event exclusive mechanic and not triggering it, then I don't really see how that's fun. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the next bit of news. A new solo mode was added, the Sword of Will X Saber. So that does come with some new accessories, of course, that you can win there for completing the solo mode. And of course, the most important part, 200 gems. I still haven't done the Elder solo mode, actually. I'm gonna need to do that and this one here. Speaking of accessories, we have some limited time offer accessories are back in the shop. The background art and sleeve and icon for number 41 Baguska, the terribly tired tapir. But most importantly, we also now have the Baguska mate as well. And if we pop over here, as you can see, I already had a lot of the Baguska accessories from before, but yep, I've been rocking the Baguska mate. It's a very fun mate. I am very glad to see it added to Master Duel there. Definitely a fan favorite for sure. I think that's pretty much everything we have to talk about as far as like in-app, in-client stuff, right? So, yeah, not too much there. Let's pop over to Untapped here. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on whatever deck that was, but so as always ever, we're going to take a look at Diamond and Master ranks for the current meta. So this is after the release of Bonfire. And as you can see, the play rate or the popularity of Snake Eye has gone up quite a bit. In the last week alone, since Bonfire has been released, the popularity of Snake Eye has rocketed up from 25%, which is already quite a bit, to 34.9, pretty much 35%, which would be a 10% increase over the course of the last week, which is pretty wild, honestly. Again, it's like I was talking about in the tier list. For me right now, I'm like, you know, are we actually in a tier 0 meta? I feel like in Master Duel specifically, I feel like in Master Duel, the answer is like yes, but barely. But I also kind of can't help but wonder, because like, here's the thing, right? I keep adding the caveat of like, oh, well, we still don't have Fire King stuff. But looking at TCG and OCG, it seems like pure, well, I guess mostly TCG, it seems like pure Snake Eye is definitely like, still by far the most played deck, even over Fire King Snake Eye. But I think the reason, one of the reasons anyway, it doesn't feel like as much of a tier 0 format in Master Duel as opposed to TCG is that you got to remember, if you're playing TCG, you're probably playing in a tournament, right? And if you're playing in a tournament, then you definitely want to bring not only the best deck, but the one that you feel can just perform the most consistently. Well, not even necessarily the most consistently, but they can give you the most amount of wins consistently. And Snake Eye is like pretty obviously the answer there. Whereas on Ranked Ladder, as always as ever, you just need an above 50% win rate. So I think that when it comes to Ranked Ladder, people are more willing to take off meta to Ranked, which is why Snake Eye probably doesn't seem like the popularity number is as high as like maybe a tier 0 deck should be. Like, I know that the number that everybody likes to throw around is like, oh, if a deck is 60 to 65% of the meta, then it's tier 0. But it's like, that's obviously not the case here. But if you look back at tier limit format, it wasn't the case then either. Like, I remember this was before I was using Untapped or before Master Duel Meta had some of its features. Like, manually adding up the numbers during tier 0 format and crunching it revealed that tier limit was played at about a 40% play rate from what I recall. Or it might have been closer to 45, but long story short, you definitely can't evaluate tier 0 in Master Duel when it comes to Ranked Ladder the same way you would evaluate it for TCG like tournament meta, right? So I think that is definitely a factor as well, but it's also just the fact that, again, as I've said before, a pure Snake Eye, the gap between it and every other deck in the meta is definitely not nearly as wide as the gap between Tier Limit and every other deck in the meta was. So I feel like, honestly, there are some people who are still saying Snake Eye is not a Tier 0 deck. I don't even fully disagree with them, but I do think it does, for me, cross that threshold. I guess for me, the threshold there is, like, it's that power gap, right? Like, do I feel like any other deck in the meta comes close to the power level Snake Eye is at right now? For me, the answer is no. But again, the gap isn't as wide as you might think it would be for a Tier 0 deck. But anyway, I mean, as you can see here when it comes to win rate, Snake Eye, as usual, is not even the top deck. In fact, Kashtira, by a wide margin, actually has the highest win rate in Diamond and Master Ranked Ladder right now. 58.5% as opposed to Snake Eye's 55.5%. Even the second best deck, according by win rate, that is, in Vanquished Soul is 56.2. So Kashtira definitely a good head above everything else, which makes sense. I mean, as we said before, it's a deck that is already pretty good, it can run a lot of hand traps, and it naturally plays very well against Snake Eye and a lot of other really good decks in this meta. Vanquished Soul actually has some counterplay to Snake Eye as well, being able to main Shifter and a lot of hand traps. But Vanquished Soul can't, I mean, they obviously don't have a Rise Heart like Kashtira does, but Vanquished Soul also can't really get away with playing something like Dimensional Fissure like Kashtira might be able to for a going first strategy, right? Vanquished Soul can use Shifter, but they definitely prefer not to have their stuff banished if at all possible. Again, Snake Eye definitely makes sense why we're seeing that here. I'm surprised that Lab is as popular as it is. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Arias just came out, and Transaction Rollback was out in the last set, so that would definitely account for a 10% popularity rating. I've seen many people like compare Labyrinth to Snake Eye in terms of like them both being on the same tier level, and I even had comments in the tier list video of people being like, Labyrinth won Duelist Cup, how could it not be tier 1? It's like, well, I don't think it's nearly as strong as Snake Eye is. It's probably the second best deck. Maybe, again, Vanquished Soul might also contend for that, in my opinion. But while it's probably the second best deck, certainly the second most popular, I still don't think that Lab's power level, even after Arias and Transaction Rollback, is at the same level that Snake Eye is at. So I was surprised to see Mathmech with a below 50% win rate, although that might honestly have to do with Kashtira being so prominent. Mathmech does have a notably bad Kashtira matchup. Manadium can also struggle. There's actually a lot down here that's below the 50% win rate that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Manadium, Unchained, Mathmech, what else? Infernoble, Fluanderies. I guess maybe you would expect to see that below 50%, but I kind of can't help but wonder if it's just the prominence of Snake Eye. Is it the prominence of Snake Eye counters like Kashtira? Is it just because we're still only, I mean, 17,000 games is still, of course, quite a few, but it's far fewer because we're only a few days into the current meta for the time range here, right? So that would also make sense as to why we're seeing some weird numbers. I would definitely expect next week when we take a look at Untapped stats for this to level out a little bit more, but I'm really interested to see where Snake Eye is going to be next week. Again, 35%. That's not even the popularity rating, again, that Tier Limits was at, but we'll see. We'll see if it just keeps on going up there, or maybe it'll level out, and maybe other decks will kind of catch up in terms of popularity and also win rate. Again, Snake Eye has definitely been passed by a couple of decks here, most notably Cashira by 3%, which for win rate is a lot, but yeah, I'll definitely be eager to see where things go moving forward here for the ranked ladder meta. All right, now let's get to what's probably going to be the bulk or the meat of this video, which is going to be leaks. We do have quite a few leaks from Decade here, like quite a few. Normally we get like 1 to maybe 5 tops cards at a time, but this time Decade went ahead and just leaked like 23, which I think is really funny. This almost feels like a spite move, honestly. Like, I feel like I have no connection to Decade, I have no ill will towards Decade or the leaks or whatever, but it feels to me like Decade was like, alright Konami, you want to release Bonfire early and not let me leak it? I'm just going to leak your whole next pack right now. Again, I'm not saying that's what he said, that's just kind of the vibe I get when I see this many leaks all at once here. So there is a lot of really interesting stuff to take a look at here. There's a couple of Altergeist monsters. Altergeist is actually a deck that I've played before in the past. It's a pretty interesting control deck, but I will say that I'm not even going to really read these Altergeist monsters, because Altergeist as a whole right now is already in a position where it's just not great, and I don't think these cards like particularly help the game plan. Altergeist is really weird as far as like its play style and like how it plays out, right? It's very much a control deck that's also trying to be a combo deck too, and it's not like control and combo inherently conflict, but the way that Altergeist tries to go about it is not very cohesive. I will say the new Altergeist rank 4 is definitely much better than their old rank 4. Setting an Altergeist trap directly from the deck when league summoned, also once returned to the main phase as a quick effect. You set a card you control the graveyard, so an effect monster your opponent controls take control of it, and if you do, it's can treat it as an Altergeist monster. Yeah, the old Altergeist Link 4 is just like, I don't even remember what it does. It's like a lot of damage or something like that. Let me, actually I want to look it up here. Oh, if I can spell, that would help. Where is it? Yeah, memory again. During the battle phase, trigger another monster. Yeah, gain attack when it destroys a monster by battle. It's just all battle-oriented stuff. This rank 4 is definitely much better. But that said, you didn't even really go into... I mean, I guess to be fair, if the rank 4 is not bad, you wouldn't go into it that often, but... I don't know, from what I remember playing Altergeist, I just don't feel like... Like, the rank 4 being better than the old one is nice, but, like... The Synchro strategy just doesn't do anything. The Field Storm strategy just isn't really there. I don't know. I'm not very optimistic about it. We have a new type of monster coming out, which is kind of wild. Illusion is the new type. A lot of Illusion monsters, in fact, I think all of the ones in the initial wave, but maybe not all of the ones afterward, do share the effect of if this card battles a monster, neither can be destroyed by that battle. Which just kind of makes sense if it's like illusions, right? The idea is like, oh, if you go to attack an illusion, you'll just phase right through it. But if illusion attacks you, it also phases through you. So that's kind of neat. That's pretty that's a pretty neat kind of mechanic, I suppose. And also is very thematic. The illusion theme also very much supports the Chimera archetype, the Chimera, the flying mythical beast, sort of like legacy support, right? And indeed, I think, yeah, even one of the Chimera fusions is also an illusion type, which is kind of cool. So, yeah, this archetype, this illusion stuff, will actually have an impact from what I've seen / heard. It definitely seems like illusion branded or like branded Chimera is definitely a thing, which makes sense given that the Chimera stuff is also like very fusion focused, right? So there's so many cards here. I usually read the cards out loud, but we have a lot to go over, so I don't think I'm going to this time. But of course, you can definitely pop on over to Master Duel Meta if you want to read these cards for yourself. Oh, here's one from Anadium. We're getting Vysis Samsara. This is going to be a pretty significant boost for Manadium and just Vysis pile decks in general. I think this is also just a pretty good card in general. It's a level 4 tuner that can optionally be treated as a non-tuner for synchro summons, which, if the token from Ringo Worm is taught me anything, that's a really, really good effect. It's got 1500 attack, 2100 defense, so it's got the stats that Vyse's cards care about. This card is also treated as Vyse's Starfrost, not only on the field, like the level 8 Synchro Amritara, but this one also is treated as Vyse's while in the graveyard, which is huge for summoning Vicious Astrolabe. On top of that, if you have, you can target any number of your Vyse's monsters that are banished in your graveyard and or in your field, shuffle those Vyse's monsters into the deck, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. If you do that, it gains 400 attack for each monster with a different original name. So this card, I mean, this does everything that, Monadium wants in a card like this, right? It's treated as Vyse on the field and the graveyard. It can summon itself by recycling your Vyse's monsters, and you can also treat it as a non-tuner for a synchro summon. That's all massive. This is such a good card. Definitely expect to see this when it comes out a lot, not only in Monadium, but I mean, I personally could see myself experimenting with a different kind of Vyse's pile deck. We'll see. There's definitely a lot that you can cook up with the Vyse stuff in general when this card comes out. Vyse's lore is also getting Realm Eulogy, which is not a good quick play spell. I wouldn't really consider this card or worry about it at all. Other huge stuff, Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace finally getting Preventer and Emergency. The Preventer in particular, I mean, they're both, I was going to say Preventer in particular, but they're both very, very welcome boosts for the Rescue Ace deck. The big question for me is, are they going to hit Snake Eye before this stuff comes out? Or will Master Duel actually get to play with full power Rescue Ace Snake Eye? We'll have to see when this comes out. But either way, whenever we get Preventer and Emergency, you can absolutely expect Rescue Ace to rocket up from Rogue status up into an actual tier. I don't know. It's hard to say. This meta is so different from TCG and OCG, just how good Rescue Ace will be. But they'll definitely be out of Rogue. They'll definitely be minimum tier 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they were tier 2. But again, it's also going to depend on what hits are going to be taken in effect before or shortly after, right around the same time these Rescue Ace cards come out, if that is the release order. Usually they do banlist and new pack around the same time, but obviously that wasn't the case this month now, was it? What else do we have here? Earth's Arctic gets the Polar Star. I'm sure this does good things for the deck, but I'm not familiar with Earth's Arctic in the slightest, so I could not tell you for certain exactly what those things are. Oh, Makonko gets a trap card. That's right, Makonko's Spirit Walk. Target face a monster opponent controls. Equip that face a monster to Makonko you control as an equip spell. Flips 500. Banish this card from your graveyard, special summon one of your Makonko monsters that is banished or in your hand. Note that that summon effect does not ignore summoning conditions, so you can't actually turbo out the ritual from hand, I believe, with the graveyard effect. I don't play Makonko. I don't think this card seems particularly great, but I guess it is another option if nothing else. Down here, yeah, we do have the Pearly Noir, another very highly awaited card that has been delayed for quite some time. This is the final bit of Pearly support, their rank 2. This has the ability to bounce cards as a spell speed 1 effect. Not only that, but it can also set Pearly trap cards directly from the deck as part of its attaching effect, right? Whenever you activate a Pearly quick play spell, yada yada yada. You also use Sleepy Memory to go into this one, is the sort of intention there. So I'll be interested to see if Pearly takes any more unhits from the ban list. I think in order for the deck to really shine, ideally we would see at the very least regular Pearly go back up to 3. And I do think Pearly got hit a little bit too hard too quickly. We'll have to see. They did take Pretty Memory back up from 2 to 3, so we'll see what happens around the time that this card comes out. Evolzar Lars is also worth mentioning as a generic rank 6 option. It's got 2500 attack, 1500 defense. While this card is a material, your opponent cannot target it with monster effects. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, or just 1 if all this card's materials are reptile and or dinosaurs. Then target a face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So this is very interesting for multiple reasons. While it does encourage you to use the in-archetype evil, or at the very least reptile and dinosaur monsters to make it, it is notably generic. It's a generic rank 6 that has a sort of omni negate option. It's interesting, right? Because the effect negates a face-up card your opponent controls until the end of the turn. That's very similar to Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Calamity, right? It's like that style of negation where it can even negate a normal spell or trap card as it's resolving, but it is limited to only negating stuff on the field. The thing I find interesting here is that the condition to trigger is your opponent activating a card or effect, but you don't even have to target the card or effect that your opponent activated. Your opponent can activate something and you can negate the effect of something completely unrelated that's also on the field at the moment, which is pretty neat. So I don't know for sure off the top of my head if this card has like a guaranteed home that it will definitely be played in, but I do think as generic rank 6s go, this is definitely a worthwhile consideration. And if your deck can make rank 6s, I would definitely keep my eye on the Evolzar Lars here. Alright, there were a few cards that I glossed over here. This other, I guess, Ursa Arctic / Strytron card, which is kind of, I don't know how good it actually is for either archetype, as well as some illusion stuff. Again, normally I do like to read out every leaked card, like read the effect out loud, but there's just so many that got leaked at once here that this week I will refrain from doing so. But I think I covered some of the beats of the most important ones here. Again, a lot to look forward to in the near future, it looks like. Got a couple of tournament results that we're going to go over here, including the Decade Meta Weekly number 106. I would love to be able to go over Challenger Cup top results. Duh, of course, because I've been topping them. But they're not posted here. I can't find... I don't know if they are posting the deck lists for Challenger Cup top cuts really anywhere. So if anyone has any info about that, I would absolutely love to be able to cover Challenger Cup top cuts as well. So if that info is out there, I just haven't seen it, definitely let me know. But I don't think they're publishing deck lists for those, which is a bit of a shame, but it's not that big of a deal. Anyway, so top 16 breakdown for this Decade Meta Weekly is gonna be a little bit surprising, but not. The not surprising part is that Snake Eye is eating up half of the top 16 results, which, you know, again, not particularly surprising. What might be surprising to a lot of you is that, from what I recall, only one Snake Eye deck actually cleared top 16, right? The rest, like, top 8 is, like, if this pie chart was only top 8, you'd only see one Snake Eye deck here, which is pretty wild. So, in fact, it looks like it was Super Heavy Samurai that ended up winning the entire thing. Despite being a best of 3, although it is no side deck, so that also does make sense. So, very, very nice, though. We see the Snake Eye deck here that did clear top 16, did manage to get second place. It's looking like a pretty standard list here with Gamma on the Seacron package as well. I've been testing out the Kashira stuff since Bonfire came out, and you'll even see a video about that, I'm sure, in a couple of days. But I do think that post-Bonfire, the Synchron package is definitely the way to go, in my opinion. My opinion could change about that over time, but we'll see. What do we have here? Looks like this is Kashtira, which again, we did see performing very, very well on the Untapped Ranked ladder, so not too surprised to see it in the top cut here. Adagnister, this deck, I swear, it's just like, it keeps showing up. Not that I have a problem with that, of course, but it's just cool that ever since Singularity came out, like, this deck has been very consistently every week or two just getting in 1 or 2 tournament tops at a time. I've said it a million times before, and I'll say it again here. If everyone had I Wish I Was Dead's Brain, then this would be a tier 2 deck for sure. Or like maybe a tier 3 at this point, but it would be out of Rogue for sure. I think the learning curve is the biggest barrier of entry that keeps this deck from performing better than it does. But very, very good deck and does consistently get results. We see Branded in here, 60 cards, of course, as always ever. No Puppet Lock going on here. I definitely like seeing that, or the lack thereof. Yeah, it's a fairly standard-looking Branded list here. And Tier Limit. Tier Limit has been seeing a pretty sharp increase in play lately. Tier Limit does actually have a pretty good Snake Eye matchup, particularly being able to utilize the Ishizu Shufflers to pretty good effect there. Fairy Tail Snow also can pretty easily mess up their link plays by turning stuff face down, especially if you flip down like Flambridge and they can't link it off and get the extra bodies. I haven't had that happen to me personally, but I could definitely see how that would be very, very problematic for the Snake Eye player in that particular matchup. Another top 8 is going to have another Super Heavy Samurai deck. This one is looking like it's going to be an OTK? Or is this oh, it's a Calamity Lock. I know there's also a hand loop build. I don't think this is it, but are we really... What does this do? Target a tuner, level 7 or 8 synchro, dragon synchro monster in your graveyard. Special summon defense position also for the rest of the turn. Cannot summon for the extra except for synchros. Level 7 or 8 dragon or Crimson Dragon you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect. Make this card from your graveyard instead. Oh, this is searchable because Crimson Dragon... Yeah, Crimson Dragon searches spell and trap cards that mention it. So I guess this is part of how this particular deck makes Calamity. I'm actually not too familiar with how Synchro Rumble fits in with the rest of the deck here, but that's interesting. I'll have to look into that, do some research on it. Top 8's also going to have dinos. See, this is the thing. I say this all the time when we look at tournament results, but, like, there are so many people out there who are like, oh, what's even the point of entering tournaments if it's just Snake Eye meta? Snake Eye is just going to win and always do well. And it's like, no, that's a very defeatist attitude. Like, if you don't feel like trying because Snake Eye is the best deck of the format, that's one thing. But to say that decks cannot succeed that aren't Snake Eye is just a complete and blatant lie. Even something like I don't know, I'm going to say lower on the tier list. I don't think Dinosaur is a bad deck, but you know, being mid, in my opinion, mid-rogue is definitely lower on the tier list than a lot of other decks we've been seeing, and then a lot lower that you would expect to see in a tier 0 meta. But don't get yourself down just because it's a tier 0 meta. If you want to play a rogue deck, you could definitely not only still do so, but also experience success with it. You don't have to be optimizing every single time to experience success. Very, very cool to see. Very, very cool to see. Alright, here is our first Kashtira Snake Eye list. Again, I've tested this out and maybe I just need to play more with it, but post-Bonfire, I'm not as big of a fan as I was pre-Bonfire of this build. Ooh, got another tier limit list. This one rocking some Rev Synchrons. Very, very cool stuff. Of course, that makes the Amatera more accessible by going into Ancient Fairy and then bringing this back as a 1 and then making the 8, and then you can grab Pearl of Rhino, and then you can grab some more tier limit stuff. It's cool. It's good. Also rocking the Vises as well. Yeah, this is a very, very neat list. Alright, I think from here we're going to see a lot more of the rest of the Snake Eye stuff, including Sky Striker Snake Eye, which I've run into a couple of times. It's a pretty neat list that utilizes not really any Sky Striker main deck monsters, but certainly the spells as well as some of the extract monsters in order to extend your plays. Got another Kashtira. Oh no, this isn't Kashtira. It's not Kashtira Snake Eye, it's pure Snake Eye, but they're not on the Synchron package, which is pretty interesting. Alright, we got another Synchron Snake Eye with Kashtiras as well. Wow, every kind of Snake Eye variant just getting into the top cut here, including one with Magician Souls and Where Art Thou? Really? Oh, this person's not playing Bonfire. I was gonna say, you should never be playing this card post-Bonfire, but I guess if you don't own Bonfires, that works. And, I mean, it works well enough. They got top 16, right? Cool, good stuff. Another pure Snake Eye list here. This one not on Kashtiras, but also not on the Synchros either. Another Kashtira Synchro, or Snake Eye. Yeah, again, all the rest of the Snake Eyes here in top 16 because, they all got knocked out, all but one got knocked out by other non-Snake Eye decks. Alright, one more tournament top cut. That's going to be the China Master Duel weekly number 77, 149 players. This one does have best of 1 Swiss into best of 3 top cut. Same format as the Challenger Cup as well. And this tournament result, we're going to see, I think almost every Snake Eye, if not every Snake Eye list, will actually be Kashtira Snake Eye. Which, again, maybe I just need to try the list out more, but I kind of think the Synchron package is better. But, pretty standard stuff there. Okay, so this is another one where they're not playing the Kashtiras, but they are still going no Synchros. I can understand not wanting to play Jet Synchron. I think for me, my biggest issue with the Kashtira stuff is that it eats so much main deck room that you have to give up on... You have to give up on that ratio of disruption to engine that I really, really like, keeping that as even as possible. But I can also see a world where you don't play the Synchros or Kashtira. This actually makes more sense to me than a Kashtira build that doesn't play any Synchros, is a pure build that doesn't play any Synchros either. But I don't know, maybe again, with more testing, I'll end up agreeing, but for the time being, I think the Synchro package is the way to go. I've said that a million times already. Yep, again, here is Cashier Snake Eye. This tournament top cut is a little more what you would expect to see from a Tier 0 meta. Another Cashier Snake Eye, no Synchros. Ooh, here's Tier Lab. Very, very spicy, very cool to see. This variant doing well here. Sword Soul. All reliable. Again, so many people out there would probably try to tell you, like, oh, you're throwing if you try to bring Sword Soul. But, no, Sword Soul doing totally fine here. Oh, this build teching Shifter. I see it here. That's cute. That's good. Yeah, Sword Soul is, I guess it's a lot like Vanquish Soul in that, like, you definitely prefer not to play under Shifter, but you can for what it's worth, so. Alright, got Mathmech here rocking the Gachiri at Ignister. So is Lightning Storm, which is kind of interesting. But in best of 3 with side deck, it makes a lot more sense. Alright, that is going to ultimately end up doing it for our tournament tops, and that will also do it for this edition of This Week in Master Duel. Hope you all found the info here helpful. Thank you, as always, Ziva, for watching towards the end of the video. Let us now move to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.